Kelly, and you each have 90 seconds to respond. This is the question. What were your main takeaways from the most recent special education audit? What would you focus on getting done first? We'll start with Kim.
Okay, I'm standing. Not a joke, I'm actually this tall. I think my main takeaway of the special education audit was that what they recommended is really good for every student, and it brings everybody to the table and puts forth an approach that is individualized to make every child successful. So I think that was the biggest piece. Second question, first thing that I would,
What would you focus on getting done first?
what would I focus on getting done first? Oh gosh. I had this before I started to sit up. You know, I think that really what I would get done first is really bringing in the teachers to make sure that they are all on board with the approach that really is we should be treating each and every child with, to make them successful. So I think that that's the biggest takeaway, and really look forward to seeing some of these audit implemented.
Okay, so my takeaways were that we have some amazing leaders in our community who are going to take us very far in this world. My second takeaway was that I could not stop thinking about Maya's comment when that night, I brought my son with me that night, and I just kept pondering that and thinking, I don't want to convince you, it's your story, and it's like you go and you're going to change the world. And then I was really sad that it's not a place you want to stay, and I want to change that, because that is not okay to me, that we have a young person in this community who feels that way, and I honor that for her, but I want us as adults to do this. And it became really clear to me that this is an adult problem and not a kid problem. And so I think that we need to have a lot of conversations, and Kelly touched on it earlier, that are inclusive of the city council and businesses and the volunteer groups and neighborhood associations, because we have to do this together, and churches. But from a district perspective, we've got to get our hiring on task. We've got to do this with intentionality. We can do this. I know we can do this. We can bring more teachers in here that are diverse so students see a line of sight. And that curriculum, one of the things that the student said is so true, where it's not an everyday project or a check the box, but it's what we do every day, and it should be integrated into our curriculum in a manner that it's just how we learn, and it's not, a special project because it's MLK week. Right? And so there are ways that we can do that to where this is part of our conversation and how we dialogue with our students at every grade.
Before you answer the question, John, I'm going to repeat the question.
Yeah.
What were your main takeaways from the most recent special education audit? What would you focus on getting done first?
So I think I think the thing that there's a couple things that I took away from the special education audit. I think one of them is about climate issues with regard to some of our special needs kids. I think that's something we have to think about when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was touched on at the beginning. It's not just race, it's religion, it's language, it's gender identity, sexual orientation, all these things, and disability status. So I think this is something, I think kids are still hearing unkind words. And I think the other one is, another important one is academic outcomes for special ed kids. They're not keeping up with some of the more neurotypical students. So I think that's an area that we need to look at. And I think this is why, part of why we hired, I'm going to mention Dr. Delacruz again, because I think this is something she has experience in. She has a very data-focused mindset. I think she is going to be able to come in and make some recommendations. And we're going to have to make some budget decisions on this. I think there's going to be a process with the school board. We're going to look at our budget. Where are we spending money? Do we need to invest more in these programs to bring more kids along? Are there additional supports we can provide? So I think these are all things that I'm really looking forward to getting started with. I think we're going to start some of this process now. We're in our budget cycle now. But I think Dr. Delacruz is going to have some input, and I'm excited for that process to start.